if a two-dimensional being going to three dimensions and unlocking a better understanding of the universe, could you say that consciousness is a dimension of reality?
I've never thought about that. Could consciousness be a dimension of reality? Space-time, we know, is a dimension that exists, but it is not something tangible. For example, if you have a flat 2D plane, if you put a particle on that flat 2D plane, the 2D plane is going to be slightly warped in wherever that particle is. So for example, if you have a bed sheet tied to 4 pillars suspended in air, and you put a marble on the bed sheet would bow inwards.
Right.
That bed sheet is space-time. When it's flat, then that means there is no matter in space. But of course, we know even just a particle, just a tiny particle, the bending of space is going to be very small, but it's going to be extremely vast. For example, 2 particles, even really far apart in space, eventually will clump.
Right.
So what was now that's the obvious bit, like with Newtonian physics. What Einstein did was largely put time into that figure. Not only did a particle bend space so that if you put a marble on one far side of the bed sheet and another marble on another far side of the bed sheet, they would eventually roll together, because the bowing, the indent that they are creating would eventually collapse into one bigger indent as the marbles get close to each other. What Einstein did was put time into that. So not only is it bending space, so space is, if space is curved downward, other matter is going to curve down that. It's going to roll, so to speak, into that curvature of space, but so does time. So the more curved, the more marbles you get piled on this bed sheet, the faster time, or what is it? No. For you, time never changes. Time always passes at 1 second per second. But for other people, for someone that's not inside the indent in the bed sheet, for someone that's looking at the indent from the outside, the bending of space-time, the clump of marbles is traveling at a faster pace for somebody that's watching outside. But for someone that's inside, let's see, is it the reverse? I think it's the other way around. From the person watching outside, the clump of marbles is traveling in a slow pace of time. And it's the reverse for the person inside. The person inside feels like they're the one that's normal, and everybody around them is traveling at an extremely fast pace of time.
Makes sense.
So that's the relativity theory. All the matter clumping, I believe all of that was Newtonian stuff. But Einstein, no one really thought to say time can be relative, because it definitely doesn't feel that way. But literally speaking, this water bottle, because it has less mass than, like, I don't know, this microphone, for example, from this water bottle's perspective, this microphone is passing time slower than this water bottle, which is, I mean, on scales like this, it straight up couldn't even be measured, I don't think, but it's a reality. Now, the bed sheet doesn't move very much. So one marble, I was using a marble as an example of a particle. The marble weighs like the weight of a feather minus a million. Like the effect it has on this bed sheet is basically nothing at all. Not zero, but it's basically nothing. Because even Earth, all of Earth, which is an insane amount of mass, barely bends this thing at all. Space-time is gravity doesn't do much. Space-time is a very rigid bed sheet. So the only thing that really obviously bends this sucker is stars, and obviously black holes, and like neutron stars and other just things that we can't really explore because none of them are close enough. But yeah, that's relativity. So the reason I brought that and described that at all is because this bed sheet is 100% with absolute certainty a thing that exists that is completely intangible to us. So the reason I brought that up is because consciousness, it kind of is as well, except to the observer of the user, quote unquote, of it. So in the same way that time is passing at a different rate for you than it is for me, but we know it is a phenomenon that is happening, though completely intangible, and we know that's a dimension. I think consciousness, why be any different? It's also completely intangible. We can't see it. We can't feel it. I don't see how you could, one, prove that theory, but I don't see how you could disprove it really either. And it's super fascinating to think about how it possibly could be.